Hi everybody, Lori here. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm excited to be a part of the Be Bold release blog hop with Simon Says Stamp, and I have a really fun project to share with you using this new embossing folder. It's called the Cherry Blossom embossing folder and cutting die. So not only is it an embossing folder with the most incredible texture, but there are 3 little cherry blossom dies that coordinate with the embossing folder. And I'm going to go to town. First, I'm going to emboss a panel of white cardstock. I've trimmed it down to 3.5 inches wide by 4 3/4 inches tall. So it's quite a bit smaller than an A2 card base, but this will allow me a nice border, which I love. Okay, for my embossing, I like to use my Spellbinders Platinum. I have the base plate and then this platform top. And then I put down my embossing folder, and then I use 2 metal shims. Now this is just, whatever type of die cutting machine, you kind of have to fiddle and fuss until you find the right sandwich. This one works well for me, so I've been using it. I run it back and forth. Now wait till you see the texture. Dare I say this is the best embossing folder I've ever used. I don't know why, but it is popping like crazy. It's cherry blossom popping. Okay, now I went ahead and cut a bunch, like more than I'll ever need. Little scraps of solid color cardstock. I believe most of this is Concord 9th. I just love their spectrum. And I'm going to use the little 3 cherry blossom dies and die cut almost all of the. I actually did take out a few squares of solid color cardstock because I knew I would never have enough room to use all of them. But I get carried away. When I get sucked into the rainbow, I lose all sight. Okay, so there's all the little die cut cherry blossoms. I know this isn't for everyone. It's a little monotonous, but I kind of love stuff like this. I get in the zone, I put on the music, and I just go to town. I don't just go to town, I go out of town. But now I'm going to take it one step further and put these little die cut cherry blossoms back into the embossing folder. If you do it on the right side, you can kind of pop them right into place. They kind of lock into place really easily, and it holds about 14, so you can do a lot at once. And I'm going to put the texture back into the bloom. So I'm going to take it off camera. I already showed you my little embossing sandwich recipe. Same one. Use my Spellbinders. And look at the texture on these little blooms. It really adds so much detail. And so I'm going to do, I actually didn't do all of the blooms because I knew they wouldn't all fit on my panel. I'll just save those for another day. And I'm just going to keep on plucking along, working my way through the cherry blossom rainbow. And I love this. You know what? I put on my Spotify, I got my tunes going, and I just enjoy it. It actually doesn't take as much time as you think. And if you were sitting down, it'd be even better. But for some reason, I always find myself standing when I craft. And I just feel like maybe I'm burning more calories. Probably not. But it's always good to think positive. Now here's the fun part. I'm going to glue all of these little die cut blooms in rainbow order back onto the embossing folder. So you're really not going to see that texture on the panel. But I use it as kind of a guide. So that's unfortunate. But sometimes you got to do what you want to do if you want to add the color. Another thing you could do is ink blend on that white embossed panel. You could ink blend on it with a bunch, like tiny little, the detail blender brushes, and add individual color to each bloom. That would be another fantastic way to bring in the color, bring in the happy. But I love the die cut. I love solid color cardstock in spectrum form. So here I am just gluing each one, and I kind of hold them down, count to 10. Again, it might not be for everyone. I know people are going to say I would never take the time, but some people like to take the time. I mean, I love a fast card, but I would rather do this than vacuum. Okay? I would rather do this than wipe the kitchen counters. My kitchen counters need a good bath. And you know what else needs a good wash? My baseboards. And every stinking day, there's dog hair all along the perimeter. And you know what? You can clean it and you think you really got somewhere, and tomorrow you turn around, it's all back. That dog sheds like the dickens. But I just love him so much, I just let him get away with it. And okay, while I was blabbing away, got all the blooms glued on, let it dry. I'm going to put this in my guillotine trimmer and just snip off all the parts that's hanging over. You could also do this with scissors, but I feel like I get it nice and sharp with my guillotine trimmer. You know, it just makes me feel like I mean business. Okay? Now, here's one of my favorite things to do. The zhuzh. I call it the zhuzh. And that's where you just lift those blooms up, give them some air, creates beautiful shadow. And, you know, I know it might flatten out if you put this in the mail. Probably going to hand deliver this card, but even so, the zhuzh is for me. I popped this up onto a Buttercream card base. For a sentiment, I'm using the new CZ Happy. Sometimes I just thank the Lord above for Kathy Zielski and her beautiful designs. I just think, you know what? Her design choices bring joy to my life. They really do. Sometimes when I'm working and I don't know what to do and I pull out a Kathy Zielski, it makes me smile. And so it's fitting that I chose the word happy. I stacked a few up with white. I'm using Bearly Arts glue and then topping that off with some matte gold. And then for the shadow backer, I did vellum. This is my standard recipe. I love a vellum with the matte gold, and I'm probably not ever going to not like it. It's just like going to McDonald's. I'm never going to get sick of it. You know, I'm not. That's just what it is. Glue this on, put an acrylic block on it, let it dry. Now, normally I would try to put little slivers of foam tape on the back of this, but there's so much lift and dimension with those blooms. I just glued it, put an acrylic block on it, and let it sit. And then I'm going to emboss this little Vibes sub-sentiment from the Happy Combos stamp set. I'm going to emboss it in white on a little bit of hot pink cardstock. So I first used the powder tool, inked it up with Versamark ink. I'm going to pour on some Simon Says Stamp white embossing powder, and then I'll heat that with a heat gun. And I love that there are coordinating dies, even for these little bitty words. I love that. So take this off camera, run it through my die cutting machine, and then I'm going to pop that up right underneath. Just nestle it right underneath the Happy. Now here's where it's debatable whether I might have gone overboard, but I think this whole card is overboard. Everything about it's overboard, so you might as well go overboard with the embellishments. I added a ton of little mini clear splash drops. I have a ton of them, so I thought, why not add a ton of them? I didn't add one to every one, but I did enough to make me happy and to send someone some happy vibes. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm sending you some happy vibes today. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time.